This is Dumont, New Jersey, a quiet, leafy suburb, a place of backyard barbecues, station wagons, and Little League baseball games. It is the heart of the American dream in the 1970s and 80s, and in a pleasant house on a quiet street lives Richard Kuklinski. To his neighbors, he is a perfect citizen, a little reserved perhaps, but a family man. They see him hosting barbecues, they see him playing in the yard with his children. He is a large man, 6'5", nearly 300 pounds, a gentle giant. His wife, Barbara, and their 3 children, they adore him. He is a strict but loving father, a devoted husband. This man lives one life. But on the dark streets of New York City and North Jersey, in the shadows of the criminal underworld, that same man is known by another name, a name whispered in fear. They call him the Iceman, because this same devoted father is a monster. He is the most prolific, sadistic, and emotionless contract killer the Mafia has ever employed. Richard Kuklinski lives 2 lives. One is a perfect suburban illusion. The other is a cold, brutal reality. This is the story of the man who perfected the art of the double life. This is the psychological profile of a killer with no soul. The mask was perfect. It was not just a disguise. For Kuklinski, it was an obsession. He craved the appearance of normalcy. The house in Dumont was his fortress of denial. His family wanted for nothing. He showered them with money, with gifts. He took them to Disney World. He hosted extravagant Christmas parties. He was, by his family's account, a model father. When his son had a problem with a bully, Richard sat him down and taught him to fight back. He was protective. His neighbors thought he was a legitimate businessman. He told them he was in finance, or that he dealt in foreign currency. No one questioned it. He was just big rich, the quiet guy who kept to himself and loved his kids. And that is the first and most terrifying element of his psychological profile, the ability to compartmentalize, to build a wall so thick and so absolute that the 2 worlds never touched. His family was his anchor to the humanity he could only mimic. So, what was his job? What did Big Rich do when he left his quiet street? He was a killer. But he was not a simple button man. He was an artist, a technician of death. He worked as a freelance enforcer for some of the most dangerous men in the country, primarily the Gambino crime family, under the notoriously violent Roy DeMeo crew. But Kuklinski was different. He had no loyalty. He had no code. He would kill anyone, for any family, if the price was right. He was a psychopath for hire. His nickname, the Iceman, came from his signature method, a method born of pure cold logic. When you shoot someone, the coroner can determine the time of death by the body temperature. This is inconvenient, so Kuklinski innovated. He would kill his victim, and then he would freeze the body. He had a massive industrial freezer in a rented storage unit. He would keep a body on ice for months, sometimes years. Then he would drive the frozen corpse to a remote location, let it thaw, and dump it. By the time the police found it, the body was at ambient temperature. It would look like the victim had died just hours ago. It was the perfect way to destroy an alibi. It was professional, detached, and cold as ice. This is the central promise of our investigation. The AI psychological profile. How is a monster like this made? Was he born or was he created? To answer this, we must go back to his childhood, to a house that was not a home. It was a torture chamber. Richard Kuklinski was born in 1935 in Jersey City. His father, Stanley Kuklinski, was a violent, abusive alcoholic. He would beat his children for any or no reason. When Richard was just 5 years old, Stanley beat his older brother Florian to death. He then forced the other children to lie to the police to say Florian had fallen down the stairs. His mother, Anna Kuklinski, was no better. She was a cold, fanatically religious woman who also beat her children with broom handles. She believed she was beating the sin out of them. This is the environment that forged Richard Kuklinski. It was not just abuse. It was a constant daily education in violence, terror, and the complete absence of love. Human life had no value. Emotions were a weakness. Pain was normal. Kuklinski described this childhood in his famous prison interviews. He said, "The abuse knocked all the normal feeling out of me." It was not a metaphor. He was a void. He felt nothing, no empathy, no remorse, no fear. He began to experiment with this emptiness. As a young boy, he started torturing and killing stray animals. Cats, dogs. He was not angry, he was curious. He wanted to see if he could feel something. Anything. He did not. And then at age 14, he graduated. He found a local bully named Charlie Figlia, a boy who had been tormenting him. Kuklinski found him. He took a metal pole and he beat him to death. He then dumped the body off a bridge. He waited for the feeling, the guilt, the panic, the remorse. Nothing came. In his own chilling words, "I felt nothing, it was just done. I realized it was a power, my power, that I could do that and walk away." The switch had been thrown, the boy was gone, the monster was born. As Kuklinski grew, his work evolved. He was a student of his craft. He was not just a brute. He was a professional who diversified. He called it his toolbox. He preferred cyanide, it was his favorite. Why? Because it was quiet. It mimicked a heart attack. It was clean. He would put it in a man's drink, in his food. He even developed a nasal spray bottle filled with cyanide. He would bump into a target on a crowded street, spray it in their face, and walk away. The man would be dead in minutes, but he was adaptable. He used bombs. He once strapped a remote control bomb to a man's car. He used a crossbow to quietly kill a man from a distance. He used ice picks, ropes, guns. He had no signature on purpose. His only signature was cold efficiency. He was the perfect predator. A man with this skill set does not stay unnoticed in New Jersey. In the 1970s, his reputation reached one of the most feared men in the Gambino crime family, Roy DeMeo. DeMeo was not like other mobsters. His crew was a butcher shop. They were not just killers. They were dismemberment specialists. They ran a car theft ring that was a front for non-stop murder. DeMeo heard about this cold, giant Pollock who killed without a conscience. He wanted to test him. He summoned Kuklinski. The test was simple. DeMeo was driving with Kuklinski. He pointed to a random man walking his dog. "Do him," DeMeo ordered. No reason, no why, just do it. Kuklinski did not blink. He got out of the car, walked up to the stranger, shot him in the back of the head, got back in the car, and they drove off. DeMeo was impressed. Kuklinski was in. The Mafia gave Kuklinski the one thing he lacked, a steady paycheck and a steady supply of victims. He was now a professional. His family thought he was a successful businessman, and in a twisted way he was. His business was death. How do you catch a ghost? A man who kills without a motive, a man who leaves no evidence, a man who lives a perfect double life. For decades the police were baffled. The Mafia could not control him. His boss, Roy DeMeo, was eventually murdered by his own family, likely by Kuklinski himself. Kuklinski was a true freelancer, a chaos agent, and he was getting sloppy, he was getting arrogant. The state of New Jersey put together a task force. They had one goal, get the Iceman. They could not get him for murders they could not prove. They had to catch him in the act. They found an agent, a man brave enough to go undercover. His name was Dominic Polifrone. Dom, he would pose as a fellow criminal, a wise guy named Pat Kane. His mission, to gain Kuklinski's trust and hire him for a fake murder. For 18 months, Dom Polifrone lived this lie. He had to become a monster to catch one. He met with Kuklinski. He talked about killing. He talked about cyanide. He wore a wire every single time. It was the most dangerous assignment of his life. One wrong word, one tremble in his voice, and Kuklinski would kill him on the spot. Finally, Kuklinski trusted Pat Kane. Kane offered him a job, a hit. Kuklinski agreed. He showed up to get the cyanide for the job. It was a sting. The police were listening. They had him. On December 17, 1986, Richard Kuklinski was driving his car. A police blockade stopped him. His wife was in the passenger seat. The mask and the monster collided. He was arrested. His double life was over. The trial was a formality, but it was in prison that the real investigation began. The AI psychological profile we are building is based on the most chilling evidence of all, his own words. Kuklinski agreed to a series of interviews. The famous Iceman tapes. The world finally got to go inside the mind, and what they found was a void. He was not remorseful. He was proud. He boasted. He laughed about killing a man by letting rats eat him alive. He smiled as he described the pop a crossbow makes. He claimed he had murdered over 100 men, maybe 200. He could not remember them all. They were just work. This is the very definition of a psychopath. A total lack of empathy, a grandiose sense of self-worth, an inability to feel guilt. He was a human predator. He was a machine. But one question remained. One contradiction that baffled psychiatrists, his family. In the interviews, Kuklinski showed one emotion when asked if he loved his family. He cried. He insisted he was a good father. He said his only regret was hurting them, not his victims, but his family. This is the final puzzle of his mind. Was that love real? Or was it the final performance? The ultimate manipulation? Psychologists are divided. Some believe it was real. That his family was the one tiny part of his humanity that his father could not beat out of him. Others believe it was just another form of possession. He did not love his family. He owned them. They were his greatest trophy, the ultimate symbol of his normal life, proof that he was not the monster he knew he was. We will never know. Richard Kuklinski died in prison in 2006. He was a man who was born in violence and who became a master of it. He was a perfect killing machine hidden inside the perfect suburban lie. The Iceman, what do you think? Was his love for his family the one real thing about him? Or was it just the final layer of the mask? Let us know in the comments below.